Okay.
I'm gonna go upstairs.
Okay. We are live. We're going to be starting in a moment. Just getting ready here. Today's Israel Connection, Boston Bomber, and the Double Standard. We're going to be going in a moment. We're going to say hello to Grunt Design. Wow. Graphic designer, Iraq and Afghanistan Marine Corps veteran. Mr. Grunt Design, thank you so much for everything you did for humanity. Okay, and we're also going to say hello to Gracie and to David Ha'ivri in the Shomron. And to Nicolas. All right, and we're going to get going. Hey, Gracie, grateful for your pings too. Okay, Boston Bomber, folks. Boston Bomber, headline news. The Boston Bomber has been given the death sentence. Okay, we're talking about the Boston Marathon Bomber. The Boston Marathon Bomber. Now, let's put this all together. And again, everything is important. Everything that's important is context. It's not about the individual pieces of information. It is the context of all that information together. So here we go. Boston. Separate the bomber out of the Boston situation. Boston, Massachusetts. Anyone who is an American history buff understands Boston is the firsts, the land, the city of firsts in America. The first city of religious freedom, the first city of freedom of speech, first, one of the oldest cities in America, and the first in terms of freedoms. That is a very important thing to understand right now. Yet, even in Boston, the city of firsts for America, we have the death penalty. Okay? Justice includes the death penalty in Boston. One can argue whether the death penalty is correct or not. That is not what we're discussing this morning. But fact, in the land of firsts in America, in the land of the birth of religious freedom, freedom of speech, yada, 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 Boston, Massachusetts, there is a death penalty for people who deserve the death penalty, including the Boston Marathon Bomber, a despicable human being who used his time, efforts, and knowledge to kill people, to kill as many people as possible. That is the context of the Boston Marathon Bomber. So today's title is Boston Bomber and the Double Standard. So what is the double standard we're talking about? Well, Israel is the land of first, the first Jewish homeland. That's the biggest, the land of the Bible. How more first can you make a land? Unfortunately, in today's modern life, history in the making, there are more terrorist bombers per capita for a population in our land who try to kill Jews or anyone who happens to be around Jews in Israel than any other country in the world. Our jails are filled with mass murderers. Our jails are filled with co-conspirators and people who assist in mass murder, in terrorist acts. Whether it's the actual bomber, whether it's the actual shooter, or whether it's the person who drove them, or the person who put together the bomb, or the person who organized the cell, Israeli jails are filled with mass murderers and those who plan and put together the mass murdering of people, in this case, Jews who live in Israel. And yet, what is the expectation of the world to deal with these mass murdering terrorists? To release them. The Obama administration, just a short time ago, a few years ago, under the Kerry initiative that Obama was pushing for peace in the Middle East between Israel and the Palestinian Authority. What was the condition that the Obama administration was pressuring Israel to agree to the Palestinian Authority? To release Arab terrorists with blood on their hands for hundreds, if not more, of Jews, Israeli citizens who were killed by these terrorists. They are jailed in the Israeli jails. And yes, for peace, Israel is expected by the world to release them. Let these terrorists go free. What are they going to do after they go free? Well, most of them, proven, go back to terrorism, go back to killing, go back to planning on killing Jews and anyone who happens to be around Jews in their heinous terrorist acts. Okay? So, Let's take a step back here. Let's go to the context again. We started with talking about Boston, the land of firsts, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom. Boston is freedom, which has a death penalty as part of justice. Okay? Boston bomber has just gotten the death penalty. Yet in Israel, the world expects Israel not only not to kill the terrorists in jail for their heinous terrorist acts, that if they would have been caught and tried and convicted in Boston, Massachusetts, they would get the death penalty. But the world, including the American administration, expects Israel to release these horrendous, horrible, life-killing, baby killers, sometimes terrorists, so that they can go back and kill again. Now, I'm just going to go into some of the absurdities. This now doesn't have to do with the world. This has to do with the unbelievable, and some would say even an extreme case of democracy and rights that Israel has. Did you know that every jailed convict in Israel can study towards a university degree when in jail? What does that translate to? That translates to convicted terrorists on multiple life-serving terms who should never see the light of day spend their time in an Israeli jail, not just with their feet up, watching TV, talking on the phone with their family, having conjugal visits, but also studying for a degree, for a university degree, to then expect to be released because the world pressures Israel to release terrorists for peace. And they maximize their time spent in jail by getting bachelor's degrees, sometimes even master's degrees, to then go out into the world and be respected terrorists. That is insane. Insane. Do people grasp the insanity of this situation? The Boston bomber gets the death penalty, yet freedom-loving people expect and then blame Israel for not releasing heinous, life-serving, sentenced terrorists to then go back into freedom and go and use their evil once again to kill more people. Now, we are not discussing the merit of the death penalty. We are not discussing whether it's correct for Boston, Massachusetts to have the death penalty, or for Israel to have the death penalty. What we are discussing is the double standard. That's today's issue. And to me, the double standard is so clear. And it is cases like this, headlines like this, that people should be harping upon this double standard. How can one let this go? We all want justice. We all want freedom. We all should have the right to live and live peacefully without the threat of being killed any second of the day. Israel, America, Europe, around the world. But the only way this is going to happen is if true justice is meted out, regardless if that justice includes the death penalty or not. But a terrorist is a terrorist, a murderer is a murderer. They should serve out their sentences. And no one, and no administration, and no country should force, expect, and then be angry at Israel for not releasing the worst murderers of the day. If you, America, don't want to release your own murdering terrorists and you give them the death penalty in Boston, Massachusetts, do not expect and pressure Israel to release the heinous, horrendous, murder-killing Muslim terrorists who we arrest and place in jail. That's today's Israel Straight Talk. Let us all spread the information, spread the truth, so that true justice can be meted out to the world, so true freedom can be experienced by all. And that starts with standing up against these double standards that the world expects and the media expects and pressures Israel for. If you want to look after your own future, look out for the canary in the coal mine, and that is Israel. So you're going to be looking after your own future in your own countries and societies if you look after the future and society and justice in Israel. Have a fabulous day. You can follow me for daily, hopefully trying my best, daily video meerkats on Israel, highlighting important issues connected to you as well around the world at AviAbelow on Twitter, on Meerkat. Otherwise, every day visit IsraelVideoNetwork.com for important and inspiring and sometimes even entertaining videos about Israel and the Jewish people. Everyone, let's all do our part. Have a fabulous day. Shalom.